We are on full page Kupam Zayin, as we all know, and we are on the line just below the line that says Es HaNivroim. And the line that we are starting from begins with the kuli. And what we just finished pointing out, bringing from Tanya, and I've explained it, is that his havus, the actual creation, the actual enabling of all creatures to be as they are in their tangible and physical presence, even the earth itself is a creation representing Hashem's knowing the earth, Hashem's knowledge of it. This we discussed at great length yesterday, and hopefully, this is not possible to understand truly because this is a divine capability that is not within human capability at all. But it gives us a certain background, a certain means by which we can relate to it. It's important to understand, so to speak, for ourselves, for our own avodah, to know that what we see, the entire creation, represents Hashem's knowing it in the detailed form. So what we are actually looking at is Hashem's presentation of what He wants us to see. Pardon me. I'm listening to this year over and over again, and I hear the questions, and I'm thinking, what is the principle that we are trying to break through that will make the questions much more conducive to being answered straight from what we are learning? The questions are valid questions from the perspective of we don't know what you're talking about. But that's not the question I'm looking for. The question is, are you talking about this? Explain it to me. And this aspect, that sphere, that part, is usually missing in the questions, and I'm just wondering what is the reason for that. I'm always pointing out we have to be involved, but everybody's trying to be involved. So what is actually the hang-up over here? Thinking about this, I realized there's one principle that needs to be brought to the surface in a very clear and very emphatic manner. And that is, Seichel, as we all know, consists of 4 stages, starting from Chochmah, onto Bina, and then onto Das. Das is the final stage where we feel perfectly comfortable with what we know. Das means I know it. Not only it makes sense, but it's real to me. I know it. But prior to that, there are 2 stages. It's called Chochmah and then Bina. Bina is that in which we are always involved in, and we're trying to decipher, to discern the details. How is this structured? What is the cause for this and what is the cause for this? And this is where we get stuck. This seems to be contradicting this, and contradictory, and so forth. But we forget the primary principle, the primary source of Seichel, which is Chochmah. all understanding of Seichel is based on that which we recognize initially at the Chochmah level. And I would like to discuss this. This is of primary importance. I'd like to discuss it both what it is and how come we're missing it. How come we seem to be bypassing it. Just as in the physical arena, in the simple physical arena, in our daily experience, the first encounter, the first awareness of anything is by seeing it. We may be aware of something by touch. We may be aware of something that something touches us. But that awareness is not an intelligent awareness. This is an awareness that comes from a much lower level. It's something which is imposed upon us, and we cannot help but to be aware of it. But it's not an awareness that we call intelligent. Intelligence means that we recognize it from an inception level, from a truth perspective. It is there not just because it is imposed upon us, but because it should be there. It fits into the entire reality. This is what sight provides, as we discussed. Sight, as mentioned many times, is at the level of Chochmah. Chochmah is the level of sight, and in the Ruchnistic arena. And even as in this physical, on the physical level, when we discuss something, explain to me how this works. We have to first see it. If we don't see it, there's no way that we can describe it. It's a beautiful day. If you don't open your eyes to see it, you will not. There's no way to discuss it. With closed eyes, we do not have a reality at all. Nothing to discuss, nothing to pursue. Even as it is true in the physical arena, this is exactly the same on the spiritual and intellectual arena. When we learn something, excuse me? We learn the effect of sight. We learned that someone who had seen an occurrence in an act of a crime, he cannot participate. He cannot be a judge in this crime. And we can draw out all kinds of conclusions from this rule. And I'm listening carefully to the various questions that came up. And it's clear that we're approaching it from a das level rather than a chokhmah level. The first thing is to see the truth of this statement from a chokhmah perspective. If we see it from a chokhmah perspective, then you can develop it further down into bina, and then it can become das. When a person is a witness, personal witness, first-hand witness to a crime, he said he cannot be a judge in this case. And the reason that is given in the Torah, in the Halacha, is because once he has seen this crime, he can no longer relate to it from a defense perspective. Because in order to be a judge, you have to be able to see two sides of the argument, accusation and defense. He can no longer look at it from a defense perspective. This is what the Halacha says. Now, how are we supposed to look at this? What does it mean that he can no longer see it for defense? Let's look at it. I'm urging they should look at it from a chokhmah perspective rather than from being compelled from our experiential level. The Torah speaks at that level. When a witness comes to testify in front of a beis din, and he's telling the beis din a story of such and such happened, the beis din knows absolutely nothing about what he's talking about. The entire structure that formed in the mind of the beis din is based on the words of this witness. The words that represent a story, represent an occurrence, they represented only that which words can capture, can represent. Let me explain what I mean.
We're illustrating. We're trying to keep track of the main principle we're illustrating here.
The very way that good, very good. That we are missing the approach of chokhmah level. This is not in intelligence. Seichel means from chokhmah, not from das, not from our experience. In other words, if a witness comes to you and says, I saw this guy rob a bank, we immediately begin to experience, oh, he robbed the bank. What kind of chutzpah is that? He must have broken the door. In other words, we're looking at it from a final level, instead of looking at as the thing develops from nothing, from chokhmah. How did he chance upon this situation? What brought him there in the first place? What made him notice this other person? We are totally oblivious to that. We are focused on the crime and says, what a crime. We take it personally. Instead of observing it from a reality perspective. This is what seichel is. This is what Torah is. This is what Chochmah provides. Sight. We spoke a great length yesterday, all kinds of different, we had a torturous session. But finally we recognize that sight does not compel anything. It presents a situation as it is in its own reality. That is the stage from which we shall begin. And therefore when we learn something here in the Maimer, our first recognition of what we're learning has to start from our own Chochmah.
I'm sorry you lost me with the marshal of the robbing the bank.
Don't worry. Any situation, any story that the witness tells you has a structure, an exact action, activity. We have to look at it from a viewer's perspective rather than from an experience perspective. In other words, oh, he hit him. Oh, how did he feel when you hit him? Did it hurt him? This is not what the case is about. If we immediately delve into, so to speak, in the final stage of the crime,
The fact that he hit him.
the fact that he hurts him, this is where we start.
Okay.
We become participants.
Not the outward action.
Not the outward action, not that which brought him together in the first place. The chokhmah, the sight.
The effect of the action.
The effect of the effect of the action, the tangible thing that we can actually imagine and participate in.
That's chokhmah.
No, that's not chokhmah.
That's not chokhmah.
That's chokhmah. That's not chokhmah. That's a das. That is the final stage of knowledge.
So the stage we're looking for is, what did he do?
What did he do? And be looking at it from a chokhmah perspective. How did they meet up in the first place? These two people.
Yeah. What was the situation?
That's exactly right. That's right. That's what the sight is.
That's what sight is. Yeah. Right.
Baruch Hashem. That is the stage of chokhmah, of seichel, from which we begin in chokhmah. What are we looking at? Not from the final result. He hurt him and it hurts him. We cannot judge a crime from sympathy for the person who got hurt, from the pain. We have to judge from the entire occurrence. The same is true when we learn something over here. We're saying this is what we struggled yesterday and the last few days. Hashem's knowing the world, knowing the earth. This is what created the earth. How are we to relate to that statement? We normally say, oh, the earth, I know what the earth is, I'm touching it. And this, when I'm touching it, this is Hashem's knowing it. How are we supposed to relate to that statement? We're supposed to relate to it from from a Re'iyah perspective, from a sight or Chokhmah. As for example, and I'm just going to put into perspective. If we say that the creation of the world is from Hashem's knowing it, which means that Hashem did not pick up any kind of material to create the earth. He created the world, the earth, by his own definition what earth should be. And that definition created the material from which it was made. Because that's what the earth should be. If we begin to understand the words in what we're learning from that stage of knowledge, from the Chokhmah Union, rather than saying, okay, let me see the world, the earth as I know it, how could it be that God created it? that is not where we start. The earth as you know it, the tangible earth, is not even your own knowledge. This is your physical experience. So although it is true that even that level is also a divine creation by divine knowing it and so forth, but if we want to understand the words that Hashem, that the creation is from Hashem's knowledge, we have to look at it from the level from which it is being presented. Hashem created the earth, the world, yesh me'ayin. Me'ayin means from nothingness. He didn't take material with which to put the world together, earth together. He created the earth because he conceptualized its being, and this conceptualization, this is what made the earth into an earth. That's what the Rebbe says. Good morning, I'm sorry. Idiose is orich. This is the beginning of which is being presented to us. We have this beginning, just like in anything in a physical sense. If you see something, then we can discuss what does it consist in. Did you see that part? Did you see that part? Do you see the difference between this and that? We can discuss something. But if you close your eyes and I'm going to describe it to you the whole from scratch, there's no way. It's all going to be imaginary. It's not real. This is what I'm saying. Seichel begins from Chokhmah, which means we have to first and foremost allow ourselves to see that which is being shown. Shown at the Seichel level. The Rebbe says that this is the creation of the world. This represents Hashem Yediyah. Hashem's Yediyah. Now, we with our Chokhmah have to relate to this statement, not with our Bina, with our Das. Does it make sense that the touch of the earth that I'm touching is Hashem's knowledge? We have to relate to it from our Chokhmah. We are being told, and this is what it is. From there, I'm going to reduce and say, okay, so therefore the touchable world means this and this. Pardon me. Bypassing this first step, which is the Rebbe is showing us something, and we tell the Rebbe, no, prove to me that I see it. Be missing the whole principle of how seichel is presented, and then we cannot possibly relate to what the Rebbe is trying to tell us. Like we spoke at great length in the last couple of weeks, that when a Rab, a teacher, a Rebbe teaches a Talmud, the Talmud knows it from his Rebbe's perspective. Oh, this is what my Rebbe sees. And this is true not only at the beginning, but it's true at the very end also. I mention all the time, it is real because Rav Nachman saw it this way. Since Rav Nachman saw it that way, therefore this is how it is. And now I'm trying to see it and to bring it down to my level of understanding, taking it from there. The difficulty of this, and the reason that this is so challenging, the reason that we constantly reverting back to the old way is obvious. And the most important aspect of it is that this is how we are trained in the secular process of learning. In the secular process of learning, your knowledge begins from test rather than intelligent knowledge. You're not interested how your intelligence understands it. You're interested how it functions on the lowest level. Whereas here we are learning how things are at the highest level. At the Chochmah, Bina, and Das level. All right. Much time is not left, but we will try to utilize the time as we have it. Now let's try to go inside. The line begins with the word kuli, the line which is just below the line that starts as hanibroi. About 8 lines from the top, I didn't count it. As hanibroi, Hashem's knowing the Nivroim is a knowledge that is an internal knowledge in Hashem himself. This principle we discussed yesterday. It is the initial reality of the creatures. And the highest of the whole earth is from this beginning that it is known within Hashem himself. This is a chayas, what's called a makif. It's a chayas of the creation before it came into being. The creation as it is true from the Creator's perspective. We have even discussed this principle and this concept, how this is replicated and given in the human being also. Like we said, Hashem created the human being. The human being is Misalmenikit Musain. He also has a godly sense of reality. So the human being reality does not begin from touch. but it begins from the reality of his seichel and his neshama and the rotzen and noinik. As we said many times in very simple things, that if we see a cup on the table, we don't see a cup on the table. We see the human being who put it down there. What does it stand for? What's its inception? What's the chayes behind it? This is what we see. That is a makif element. That's what the Rebbe says. This is what initially creates a whole situation, a whole reality. Okay, now let's go inside, kuli. However, hine behold, chayus zeh ein bemugesh b'nivroi. This chayus, that is the effect of Hashem's knowing it, is not sensed, felt in the Nivroi. This chayes is real, but it's not mugesh b'nivroi. Again, let's resort to a mashal. As we said, the Rebbe created the human being and reflective of the divine the truth. When you have a guest in your home, the guest came to your home by your invitation. And therefore, this is what makes him comfortable in your home and makes him welcome and so forth. He feels at home in your home because you invited him. This invitation itself, the fact that he invited you, the way he perceives inviting you, the way the knowledge of you being his guest as it is in his inception, what he perceives, what compelled him to invite you, that you don't sense. What you sense